ahead and we'll make sure we publicize the recording when we're done. We get lots of views of our webinars after the fact. So, and it's the end of the semester. So I'm Melissa Cragin. I'm the Executive Director of the Midwest Big Data Hub, and we've been very pleased for the last couple semesters to be offering webinar series for student-led student groups to talk about what their groups are all about on their campuses, how they interact, provide information, training in their particular area of expertise, do outreach with the community if that's part of what they do. And it's a nice way for universities and student groups to share best practices and lessons learned and opportunities for ways to connect with industry or community partners and other sorts of resources that might be available, whether it's through the Midwest Big Data Hub or other organizations. So this is our last webinar of the semester. The next one will be in the end of February. We'll post the schedule, of course, come January. We will have 3 webinars in the spring semester. So tonight, we're very lucky to have representation from the University of Wisconsin. I'm going to introduce Elizabeth McDaniel. She's a doctoral student in microbiology at Madison, studying microbial population dynamics of engineered wastewater systems. And she's the co-chair of a peer-led Computational Biology, Ecology, and Evolution ComBEE, the ComBEE study group there on the campus. She's interested in helping researchers in biological sciences to integrate computational and statistical tools into their research. So Elizabeth, we'll turn it over to you, and thanks very much.
All right, thank you for that introduction. I'm going to share my slides. Okay, can everybody see? Is it sharing the slides or is it sharing a video of me?
We can see both.
Okay.
The slides are showing, yeah.
Okay, very cool. Well, thank you for having me tonight. I'm really excited to talk about our peer-led study group, Computational Biology, Ecology, and Evolution, or what we call ComBEE, and how we're trying to integrate computational skills into biological sciences using peer-led study groups. And so, computational skills in biology is becoming very data heavy lately with the cost of sequencing technologies coming down. More and more omics approaches are warranted, and students need to learn these skills. However, biologists typically are not trained in computational or programming skills yet. I was fortunate to come from a university where I had a statistics minor, was able to learn some statistical programming that way, and also a computational biology course, but this is rare at the undergraduate level and both at the graduate level in coursework. But most students will need some sort of computational or data analytical skills. Principal investigators, the heads of labs, or lab mates may not be able to help with current techniques. Maybe that isn't their specialty. And when coursework is available, they can give students a leg up, a great introduction to certain programming languages, popular software platforms. But it lacks continuous support for those students once they finish that coursework, or there are many specific areas in the biological sciences that require specialization. So we're specifically focused on ecology and evolution, but we do draw students from other fields in the biological sciences, as I'll talk about later. So ComBEE, as I've said, stands for Computational Biology, Ecology, and Evolution. This is a peer-led student-organized group. This group was originally organized about 3 years ago by a former PhD student in actually my lab, Sarah Stevens, who is with us here tonight as well, and 4 years ago, sorry, as she just informed me, I thought it was 3 years ago. But basically she saw that Although we do have coursework on our campus, fortunately for certain data analytical and programming courses in the biological sciences, there wasn't a lot of communication across groups that did similar work, specifically in microbiology and genetics. And we were all kind of using the same tools and struggling with the same problems and not talking to each other. And these problems were best solved by talking to each other. And so it first started out as biweekly Python study groups, I believe, where these are alternate weeks, and then it expanded into our study groups. And we also, and I'll talk more about how our study groups are structured and how those are led. We also hold, since this is a group that's specifically interested in ecology and evolution or and biological sciences, we hold monthly seminars on these theoretical topics, or some of my favorite monthly seminars, which I'll talk about some examples, are walking through a computational tool or a programming language that a professor or a lab uses or has developed. I think you can click on that link. So we do have a website with our basic information, how to get in contact with us, links to our study group notes, lessons for topics that there are lessons for. And so the way our leadership works, is we are led by two co-chairs, myself and Kirsten Goding, who is a second-year genetics student, also in our department. And basically, what the co-chairs are responsible for is scheduling events, finding study group leaders. Sometimes we do lead study groups ourselves. And in something that I'm really interested in that we've done a couple of times and looking forward to in the future is organizing workshops around a specific tool or computational workflow to help scientists answer their questions. And so, like I said, the way our R and Python study groups are structured is that the groups meet on alternate weeks. This is generally an informal discussion of topics. It's based on group interests. So at the beginning of each semester, we have our study group leader meet with whoever decides to come to what we call our topics planning session. And basically the group just discusses what general struggles they're having with analyzing their data in their lab, what they want to learn, such as in the R programming language. Plotting is always popular, cleaning up data, organizing data, maybe some statistical topics. There's usually, we can pull from coursework and general lessons for how to write for loops and functional programming in Python, for example. But this is basically all based upon what the group is interested in. And so each study group has its own GitHub repository through our GitHub organization. Our study group originally was hosted through a Google website, and we hosted everything on Google Drive. About a year ago, we migrated everything to be hosted through GitHub, which is really nice. Everything is open source. If you're comfortable with the command line, things can be controlled from the command line, or changes to the website or repository structures can be made within GitHub. But it was nice because our website, if you check it out, is based off of a Mozilla Science template, which was nice that we could change for our own needs. But basically each study group has its own repository where notes for a session are hosted. If there was any code examples that were used for the session, we host it on GitHub as well. And this also provides a nice outlet to archive previous semester's notes and code. And so, as I said, our monthly seminars are mostly informal. This features a professor or a postdoctoral student. In the past, we've had talks on theoretical ecology and evolution topics, from soil microbiomes to the origins of life, or demonstrations of computational tools and workflows. The two that I'm showing here, one really big interest in the field of genomics, specifically microbial communities and metagenomics, is assembling genomes from a mixed population. As I'll talk about later in my talk, we have a lot of researchers that are interested in microbiome related fields, from human gut to environmental ecosystems. And a lot of that work is done through culture independent computational work, which we try to appeal to through our monthly seminars and study groups. Something that we've done in the past, we haven't held a workshop in about a year. The workshops that we have hosted, we've hosted 2 workshops around Git. GitHub is like basically a public repository using the Git version control program. But basically, we've taught version control with GitHub, and then also integrating GitHub pages to create a personal website, my own personal website. And you can also make blogs using GitHub pages. And then on the right here, since we do mostly appeal to researchers in ecology and evolution, a lot of them are microbiome researchers. We did a workshop on a software platform called Anvio, which is for analysis and visualization of omics data. All of our workshop materials we base off of the data and software carpentry workshop outlines, especially the Git and the GitHub pages. We worked off of the GitHub tutorial from software carpentry, and then built on that to add some GitHub pages tutorials. That workshop material is also hosted on our GitHub organization as its own repository, as are the materials that we used for our Anvio workshop. And finally, basically to bring everybody together at the beginning of semesters, especially in the fall semester, when we have new postdocs joining labs, new graduate students that are starting in their first year of graduate school, rotating in labs, trying to decide what they want to do their thesis work. We hold socials at the beginning of each semester, reconnect with these researchers, try to get newcomers interested in computation, letting them know that there is a community here for continued support for these skills. One of the things I was asked to talk about in this webinar was if we do have funding, how do we secure that? We do not have funding, so for social events, we just provide snacks and beverages on our own. And finally, the computational community on this campus is growing. Part 2, what we call the hubs, kind of similar to the Midwest Data Science Hub. But the 2 main hubs are the Data Science Hub and the Microbiome Hub. They are joint organizations separately through our Biotechnology Center and the Wisconsin Institute for Discovery to help better tackle projects that have large amounts of data, help researchers learn these skills, connect them with other people that are also working on these types of projects. Again, these skill sets are best learned when you have other people to troubleshoot your programming problems with, rather than just doing it in isolation and everybody kind of figures out things on their own. And then the microbiome side, connecting those researchers specifically interested in microbiome questions from human and host associated to environmental environments, environmental ecosystems. But like I said, a lot of that research is culture independent, computational, and lots and lots of big data to analyze. So these 2 hubs sit underneath the Wisconsin Institute for Discovery, and something that I'm looking forward to is trying to coordinate with them for workshops, also talking about what's the best ways to bring resources, such as virtual machines, server resources, sequencing platforms specifically for people in the microbiome field to the community. In addition, it's great to have these resources, but if you don't have people that actually, it's a waste to have those resources if people don't actually know how to use them. So how do we best effectively teach these researchers the computational and data analysis skills in the most high throughput way? Some lessons that I've learned. I took over as co-chair almost 2 years ago. How to send efficient and succinct emails. I'm pretty loquacious with my words. I tend to overwrite a lot, and people just want to get right to the point in emails. How to communicate effectively with your co-chair. We try to best as possible organize basically monthly seminars and finding study group leaders together as best as possible. So how to effectively communicate with them. Study group leaders are responsible once they are given either our Python study group for sending reminder emails, making sure they feel they have the resources available to them to effectively lead those study groups if they want input from us. Since we've started teaching workshops, how to create the most open and inclusive environment through study groups and workshops, where the individuals can come away with newly learned skills. Especially the big thing that we stress in our study groups is that anybody of any background skill set can come to our study groups and still come away with something learned. That's from beginner, you never programmed anything at all, to experts. And then accommodating to, the range of computational skills. And so our future plans that we've kind of talked about, this is a student-led group, so we are kind of limited by the time that individual members are willing to put in. We all have our own research programs, classes that we're taking, teaching responsibilities, so this is kind of something extra that a lot of us are doing. The Julia programming language has something that's come up a couple of times. One of our monthly seminars was from a professor that uses Julia in her own research, and we talked about having an extra study group for that. Bash shell scripting basics are something that come up a lot. They're really useful skills for working with the command line that software carpentry has really great lessons for, but we've just never integrated into a workshop or any of our study groups. And then, like I said, something that I'm really interested in is creating workshops, either through coordination with the microbiome and data science hubs, that specifically focus on programming and data analytical skills specific to our community, such as metagenomic assembly, comparative genomic methods, and then statistical analyses and best ways for visualizing data. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions, any fruitful discussions about how to best lead and organize workshops, maybe integrating other programming languages besides Python and R. Those are just the two most popular ones in our department.
Great, thank you very much. So I'm going to wait for a moment for others to ask questions. I have a couple, so let's see if anybody else has questions before me.
Hey, this is Alice. Thank you, Elizabeth, for this presentation. This is really great, and I learned a lot. I was wondering, since we're in the type of future questions, what is the vision you have for your organizations in the next few years, and what would you like to achieve on a more broader scale, maybe?
So, question of where do I see the organization going in a couple years, and what do I want to achieve? I really like organization and structure. That's not just like, I do like that our group is pretty informal. Everybody decides for themselves what they want to get out of the group, and then the study group leader just kind of informally brings what they know of the topic, or a couple code examples from blog posts or something like that. Last fall, we had a professor, a statistics professor, come, and he led our study group, and basically he used it as a trial period for a class he was going to teach on R programming and more statistics. And so he had organized lesson plans and things planned out for each session. And so sometimes that can be really great for certain topics. I've done that for loops and apply in R. But some of my favorite study groups have been where we do live coding sessions, where I've brought in a coding problem I've had for that topic, such as cleaning up and tidying data, and then we all solve it in real time. So that's something I've kind of asked myself if I want more structure for the group. I definitely, in coordination with the hubs at the Wisconsin Institute for Discovery, host workshops, whether that's, we've done just like half day or full day workshops or multiple days. Yeah, I'm really interested in workshops. I've helped teach a couple, never full-blown organized one of our own. I take that back. I've done one. Yeah, and I think because of our name, we do draw people from pharmaceutical sciences, psychology, because our name has biology, ecology, and evolution. That somewhat excludes some of the life sciences, but we've tried our best to advertise to a wide audience on the UW-Madison campus. I hope that answered your question. It's something I've thought about, the workshops idea a lot, but not how to best execute it.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thanks very much. So I do have a couple of additional questions that will be of interest, I think, across not only other student groups, but in general for the big data hubs. So the one is, do you have a group of people that's part of your organization that maybe gets together for various open data challenges or hackathons?
Okay, do we have people that get together for hackathons? Not that I'm aware of at the moment. We currently don't meet in the summers. We only have active study groups going on during the fall and spring semesters. That's something we've kind of toyed around with, is during the summer, do we just book a room for an hour and say, this is our hacky hour, anybody can come, we can just talk about general programming issues. Yes, that's something else we've kind of thought about. I don't know if anybody else kind of gets together for hacky hours.
I was just curious. I picked up on that. I really like the idea that you get together and do sort of in-person crowdsourcing or group problem solving around a challenge somebody's having with some project. So that's great. With respect to recruiting, in addition to sort of reaching out in the academic space, in the sort of traditional classroom kind of space, do you advertise across campus? I'm curious about how you might be particularly maybe recruiting women to participate. It's an area for the hubs and for data science in general that, being able to increase diversity and specifically building out, data science across multiple communities is something we're really interested in. So I'm curious in how you all think about that.
Yeah, so our current aims for advertising, which we think about a lot and we've gotten better over the years, a lot of our graduate student programs have what we call kind of parade of professors, or it's their orientation week, where professors that are actively taking students for their lab come and give a quick 10-minute, 15-minute talk about the research in their lab. And so we've gone to, so I'm in the microbiology program, my co-chair Kirsten is in the genetics program, and we've gone to these orientations to talk to the incoming first years, not only about our group ComBEE, but about other computational resources on campus, such as the newly founded data science and microbiome hubs. We have a Center for High Throughput Computing that's really helpful and has great facilitators to help them get started with research. That there's data and software carpentry workshops they can get involved in. And so we haven't specifically thought about how we recruit from diverse audiences. I definitely think that both co-chairs being women kind of helps that boundary. I've never really specifically looked into like what type of audiences we're drawing from, but I think it makes it more approachable for women in our field to come to these study groups if they know that they're going to, that there are women in leadership. I think our co-chair positions, Sarah, who started the group, there's always been a female co-chair at all times. Yeah, that's something I haven't thought about a lot, and that's something I think I should now.
That's great. I was just curious, sort of, and yes, the fact that you've got co-chairs, that both co-chairs are women, is great. It starts to, as you say, it opens the door to some extent. So, well, very good. If anybody, any other questions in the audience? Appreciate all the links that got posted up. We'll make sure to get those shared out as well, and thank you for that. Okay, barring any final questions, I think we'll end here. Thank you, Elizabeth, again very much. This was fantastic, and we look forward to hearing more from you all, and hope you'll join some of our other webinars going forward.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.